I'll leave you with this, and this is how I honestly feel about the situation. I think Tua Tagovailoa, although he loves football, he has got to shut it down. I get it. It's his livelihood, and he wants to go out there and be tough and be strong and show up and show out. But sometimes you got to put your safety first. Y'all know how I am. I like to joke, cut up, and overall, we just like to come to this channel to share some great laughs and just talk about football. But I have a serious question for all of you watching this video. Is this, and when I say this, I'm talking about the Tua Tagovailoa situation, is it not getting out of hand? Look, I don't have time to waste. You don't have time to waste. We're not doing no intro and none of that. We're jumping straight into it. As most of you know, if you're new, you're about to find out, this is a college football channel, and here and there we'll talk about some of the pros and maybe some college basketball. For the most part, though, 98% college football, but the reason I've talked about Tua here and there is, number one, he went to Alabama, so kept up with him a lot, and number two, I've met him a couple times. I like Tua, great humble young man, and what you see on TV, it's how he acts off the field as well. He's just one of those people you want to have in your life. He's a joy to be around. And oh yeah, before I forget to throw in there, he's a pretty dang good football player as well. Had a great career at Alabama for the most part, outside of some bad injuries here and there. He was one of the best quarterbacks to ever put on that Crimson Tide uniform. Fast forward in time, gets to the NFL, battling some more minor injuries, but this year, maybe the biggest one out of them all, he's been dealing with concussions. For those of you who don't know, let me give you the rundown on this. He suffered a minor concussion early on in the season, and then the big and bad one that everybody saw, I think it was either on Sunday night or Monday night. Not this recent Sunday or Monday night, but it was on Sunday night or Monday Night Football weeks ago. I think it was about, what was it, a month? No. It was like 2 months ago. No, his head got slammed to the ground, and it looked like he was having some type of seizure, and yeah, it was bad. We've already talked about that, and in those videos, I shared some information with you where one of the best doctors in the world when it comes to concussions, he made it clear and he stated that Tua should retire and never play football again. And let me make this clear. The doctor that said that isn't some Joe Schmo. He's not some random doctor. He's the best of the best. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to concussions. He said if Tua wants to have a healthy life, he has to hang it up and retire. He also stated that if Tua continues to play football, he puts himself at a bigger risk. And I think we all understand why, because he's already had 2 concussions. So yeah, he's going to be more prone to getting more concussions since he's had a history. That's just how it goes. And I think a great example of this, and it comes to my mind a lot, is Luke Kuechly, the linebacker that played for the Carolina Panthers. He had problems with concussions and he just kept having them, and eventually he retired at, I believe, 28 years old. To retire at 28 years old when you're pretty much in your prime, yeah, it's a big deal. Fast forward in time to our current date, I'm sure many of you watched this game. The Green Bay Packers, they played the Miami Dolphins. I myself happen to watch all of this game, and if you also watch this game, you know how it went down. In the first half, Tua was awesome. In the second half, he was terrible. It's one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen him play. It was bad to say the least, but late in the second quarter, really late, about 2 minutes to go, a play happened. When I saw it live, I was like, dang, Tua kind of hit his head hard on the ground. I'm going to show you the video clip. It's when the Dolphins were up 20-10 and Tua was playing awesome. Once again, when I saw this play live, I was thinking to myself, man, I think his head kind of hit the ground really hard there, but maybe I'm overthinking it. And the reason I even paid attention to it is because I know Tua's had a history of concussion, so I pay attention to see how he's going to fall a lot of these times. But anyways, moving along here, he got up, everything seemed a-okay, so I brushed it aside. I was like, well, maybe I was overthinking it and I'm being too cautious. He's a grown man, he's going to take these hits. And yeah, we know how the rest of the game played out, but here is something, and this is a stat line that I found rather interesting. Let me know in the comment section. Do you think this is a coincidence or not? Before this hit, which is labeled as a concussion, Tua was 9 for 12, 229 passing yards, 20 yards an attempt, and 1 touchdown to 0 INTs. During that stretch, he was awesome. He looked like the Tua we've seen all throughout the season. But, and I have a big but, after this play you're seeing on your screen, Tua was 7 for 13, 81 yards, 6.2 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns to 3 miserable, let me repeat that, miserable INTs. They were awful. These weren't miscommunication with wide receivers. These weren't tip passes. They were just straight up awful passes by Tua. I'm going to remind you, this terrible sequence, it happened after this concussion. Am I trying to sit up here and make excuses for Tua? Absolutely not. But you do got to say, it almost leaves you thinking maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know, and the bottom line is, it really doesn't matter. What really matters is, Tua is in concussion protocol. And you got a lot of people feeling some type of way about this. Check out this comment. Kids should just walk away from the game. We'll be 40 years old and unable to hold a spoon, and that got over 500 likes. I mean, as funny as that sounds, I don't even think he's joking. That's facts. Here's another great comment. If that fall is enough to concuss him again, he shouldn't be playing at all or anytime soon. He clearly isn't ready. Somebody replied to that and said, that fall could concuss anybody. His head slammed pretty hard and bounced off the ground. And here is one of the tweets that is currently trending. Somebody tweeted out, did the Dolphins send Tua out there to fail miserably in the second half after yet another concussion? How did no one see this yesterday? And I really like this comment. We're about to talk about it. If a player enters concussion protocol more than once in a year, they should not be allowed to return that season. It sucks, but it's a step in the right direction for player safety. And I agree 100%. Or not 100%, I would tweet that. I would say if they enter the concussion protocol 3 times, not 2, but 3 times, yeah, you're done. Because one thing we know, this is proven with cold hard facts and evidence, the more concussions, even if they're just minor, the more you get, the more prone you are to get more. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it reminds me of a sprained ankle. And it's a way that you can try to relate to this because we're not all out here going and banging our heads on the ground and playing football at the highest level. If you have not dealt with a sprained ankle, you're beyond blessed. But for those of you that have, you know what I'm about to say. Suffering from a sprained ankle is one of those injuries where it's going to linger with you your entire career. You see it a lot. You'll see people have 5 to 6 ankle injuries within the span of 2 or 3 years. And more times than not, it's only you're out for 4 to 6 weeks, but it continues to linger around. I think that's what's happening with Tua and all this concussion stuff going on. The more he continues to go out there and play, the more prone he is and the higher percentage chance he has of getting another, or not getting, but suffering from another concussion. Last but not least, I want to show you what Charles Woodson had to say. Just seeing the news about Tua, if indeed it's another concussion, he has to think long and hard about continuing to play this game ever again, period. So with all that being said, it leaves us with the main question of this video, and the question I'm asking you guys: should Tua be done and wrap it up? I'll leave you with this, and this is how I honestly feel about the situation. I think Tua Tagovailoa, although he loves football, he has got to shut it down. I get it. It's his livelihood, and he wants to go out there and be tough and be strong and show up and show out. But sometimes you got to put your safety first. You got to shut it down for this season. I'm not saying his entire career, but this year, it's got to be over with. 3 concussions in 1 year, it's nothing to play with. And let's be real, the Dolphins, you're not winning a Super Bowl. And there's no point of scraping to get into the playoffs just to lose in the first or second round. You're not winning a Super Bowl, and there's no reason for Tua to go out there and continue to put his health on the line. The even bigger question is, and as you can see, many people feel this way, should Tua shut it down for his entire career? It's really hard for me or anyone to even justify that or say that. Because once again, what's he going to do? I mean, he's still a young guy. He's still relatively a kid. You want him to shut it down and just sit on his couch and watch movies for the next 40 years? And I know some people's going to say, and it would be a point I'd bring up, well, he don't have to, just shut it down completely. He could be a coach. He could go coach football. And yeah, I do get that, but Tua is not 35 or 40 years old. He's still relatively young, like I said. He doesn't want to be a coach. He wants to be a player. And I tell you this much right now, Tua is not retiring anytime soon. Maybe if he deals with these injuries continuing on in 2 years from now, maybe, but right now, absolutely not. He ain't shutting nothing down, so I gotta give credit to him for that. He's a tough kid, but sometimes your toughness and ego and pride can get in the way, and yeah, it can have lingering effects as we're seeing now. It's kind of crazy how everything became a full circle, because we saw many doctors 2 months ago, whenever he had that mini seizure on the field, say he should hang it up then and there. A lot of people said those doctors were being ignorant, and well, here we are. It is an interesting situation, to say the least. I did want to give my 2 cents. Let me know your thoughts down below, but right, 1 million.